A psychologist, Dr. Daniel Sinenser, once said, "Guilt and shame can lead to depression, anxiety, and paranoia, but they also nudge us to behave better. When we act in a way that we are not proud of, the brain broadcasts a signal that prompts us to alter our conduct." Honestly, the fact that you even have guilt in the first place, I think, is a good indication that you're a good person. Because if you didn't have any guilt, you would just go on normally like you did before. But unfortunately, holding on to this guilt does have a lot of downsides to it. As you're holding on to this guilt, it rewires your brain. It rewires your neurology in a way that keeps your brain stuck in a stress response mode. And when that happens, it makes it way harder to think clearly, get any sleep, and even enjoy life because you're just stuck in this stress response. But forgiveness, especially forgiving yourself, changes all of that. Here's the big question. How do you actually do it? How do you forgive yourself? Let me break that down into a few simple steps. Step number 1, acknowledge the mistake. First, you've got to face it. I know it's uncomfortable, but ignoring it will only give it more power over you. Think about it like this. Imagine you're carrying a backpack, and every mistake that you avoid to acknowledge is like putting a rock in your backpack. And that rock that you put in your backpack is not going away until you take it out. Eventually, you're going to have so many mistakes that you haven't forgiven yourself for that your backpack is going to be filled with so many rocks that you fold like a lawn chair because you can't carry the weight. For me, there was a time that I hurt someone very close to me, and I kept trying to just push it away out of my mind. But no matter what I did or what I tried to do, it just kept coming back. I'd be laying in bed, thinking about it all night long, tossing and turning, and getting essentially no sleep, making me feel way worse than I needed to. Maybe I did need to feel that way. I don't know. Point is, I couldn't get it out of my head, and I'm tossing and turning. Life's not great. Okay, so I was like, I need to get rid of this. How do I do this? And the first step I took was admitting to myself that, yeah, I messed up. Not to beat myself up, but just to take accountability for what I did. Because when you own it, you can begin to let go of it. And one weird thing that I found over time is that I find it helpful to talk to myself out loud. When I'm doing things like that, for some reason, it helps it sink in a little better. I don't know why, but it helps for me. So maybe try it. Step number 2, reflect on what you've learned. So now you've acknowledged your mistake. Now the question is, what can you learn from this? Look, mistakes suck. There's no sugarcoating that. But they can be great teachers if we let them be. Once you identify what the lesson is, start by asking yourself, how can you do better next time? If you said something hurtful to somebody or did something hurtful to somebody, maybe just start by thinking before you speak. That's progress, and that is the whole point of this. You don't want to make the same mistake twice, so just find out where you can get better and grow as a person. When you do this, you're not erasing the mistake at all. You're turning it into a lesson, and that lesson is turning you into a better person. Hopefully a person that is more at peace and more compassionate. When you take that scenario and pull a lesson from it, that's when it really starts to lose grip on your mind. And that's when you gain back control. Step number 3, practice self-compassion. See, this one's hard because we're oftentimes our own worst critics. I remember I used to talk down to myself all the time and tell myself that I don't deserve any ounce of happiness in this world, and I don't deserve to amount to anything because of what I've done and how I'm such a horrible person. I just felt like what I did was so unforgivable. So if you're like me, stop. It doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't fix anything. It just keeps you stuck. Don't be like me. But if you happen to be a little bit like me, try this. Think of it like this. Grab a pen and a piece of paper, and in your mind, imagine that you have a friend that is dealing with that same exact problem that you are. What would your response to that friend be? And what's the advice that you'd give them? Write that down, read it, and take your own advice. That may help. Step number 4. Take action for the future. Don't just sit in the guilt, do something with it. Ask yourself, what's one small step that I can take today to really improve myself to be an overall better person? It doesn't have to be a huge step. Taking action today is powerful because it shows that you are now no longer stuck in the past. You're building that better version of you as we speak. And if you mess up again, that's okay. You're human. It's gonna happen. The whole point of this is to just keep moving forward. I always had this voice in my head that I struggled with. And when it comes to forgiving myself, it would always tell me, why do I deserve to just become a better person and forgive myself and move on, knowing exactly what I did? And it would kind of just make me go in a 360 where it's like, okay, yeah, I forgive myself and I should forgive myself. I feel like I need to feel like this. And maybe that is the lesson. Truth is, you're only hurting yourself by not forgiving yourself, and you're only hurting the people that you meet and encounter as you go on through life also by not forgiving yourself, because they're not getting the best version of you. And same with the people that you meet. They need to forgive themselves so that way when you meet them, you're meeting the best version of them. I hope that makes sense. But as I would talk to myself about it, there was a certain thought that I had, and that was this image of myself and who I wanted to be in the future. And that person that I was, without forgiving myself, did not align with that person. So I had to look my issue in the face and deal with it to become that person that I wanted to align myself with. And please remember, if your feelings get so overwhelming, it's hard to deal with by yourself, please feel free to reach out to a friend or even the comment section or a therapist. I'll be reading every comment, so please feel free to let me know. You don't have to go into details, but I'm just letting you know that as a person, I'm here for you. Just please do anything you can to help you process it and move forward. Self-forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about saying to yourself that you are not that person anymore and you've learned your lesson and you're ready to move on.